Floss Tube, it's Julie with Reflections Framing and Stitching. Today is Monday. It is a beautiful Monday. The sun is shining. It's supposed to get into the 70s. There's not, 50-mile-an-hour winds out there. And I'd be recording this out on the deck if my deck weren't a mess at the moment, and probably for the rest of the summer. But we'll talk about that later. This is video number 103. And welcome back if you've been here before. If you haven't been, my name is Julie. I own Reflections Framing and Stitching, which is a cross-stitch and custom frame shop in Bellevue, Nebraska. My videos are predominantly, mostly about cross-stitch. Today there's just a little cross-stitch. And if I get it done, there'll be a video at the end of Dan and I redid the hutch that we moved from this wall around the corner. So I recorded kind of how we did that, but it's not 100% done yet, but it might be by the time I'm ready to post this. That's what the videos are normally about, is cross-stitch. I throw in a bit of antiquing and a bit of home decorating. So, yeah, but generally speaking, it's about cross-stitch and my shop and what's going on there. So, let's get started, shall we? First of all, I've made some notes, so I will be looking at my notes just to kind of keep this moving well. And the first note I made myself was, I've totally forgot, and I apologize. I forgot to thank all of you for your kind comments on the pantry video. Everyone was so sweet and kind with their remarks about it, and Dan and I really appreciated that. So thank you very much for those comments. I haven't done much out there since that video. I'm pretty happy with everything the way it is. It's about time to put a new puzzle out there and start working on a puzzle again. So so anyway, just thank you, and again, my apologies for not addressing that in the last video. And then I had a couple questions on the last video about the Quaker Welcome chart, this one, regarding the color changes I made, and I should have been a little more specific. It wasn't so much color changes as it was color placement changes. I've always felt that the bottom half of this was too disconnected from the top half color-wise, because the bottom half is pretty much two colors, pink and black, and the pink in the bottom half wasn't even used in the top half. So when I started stitching it, I got this top band done, and I thought to myself, do you want to do any more, or do you want to stop there? Because it would have made a cute little drum if I'd stopped right there. And it sat then unfinished for several years before I decided to pick it back up and look at it and figure out exactly why I didn't want to finish the whole thing. Now, number one, we all know, well, not if you're new, you don't know. I'm not a big fan of stitching alphabets. I know everyone says they go fast. I just find them to be rather boring. So I'm not a huge fan. So that was one factor, because there's two. There's the big one and the little one. And you'll have to excuse the cough. I'm still a little phlegmy. And then, like I said, I always felt that there was too much of the same down here, not enough of the colors that were up here. So when I sat down and looked at it, that was really my issue, was I didn't like the fact that this pink wasn't wasn't up here, and I didn't like all the black. So basically I just colorized the bottom and deleted this pink completely, which is grapefruit. And used the I think it was 356. I think this color is DMC 356. So I deleted grapefruit and then just kind of winged it on where I wanted colors. But I did take the time to sit down and look at my piece and look at this, and you can find the changes that I made under the description of that video, which was video number 102, I believe. If you click on the little thing that says more, it's all written out there. I would recommend that you get a screenshot of my finished piece, not this, but of the finished piece, and that'll help you kind of refer back and forth on, because I've always said I'm not a real good explainer, so you might need that help, especially in the leaves on this middle part, because again, I just kind of winged it, and you can do that too if you're comfortable doing that. That's going to be the best I can do to help. And then also I had questions on the fabric used, and I used a 40 count Old Massachusetts from Primitive Hair, which is, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, the called for fabric. Only I'm not sure it was called for in 40. It might have been called for in 30, but I'm a 40 girl. So that addresses the questions that I can remember that I had in that video. And thank you everyone for appreciating the changes and wanting to do the same thing. It's one of my favorite pieces now, so I am glad I went back to it and figured out what was bothering me and fixed it. So then let's see, stitching update is very little. I worked for a week on Hawkrun Hollow because I had this private goal. It wasn't one I'd said out loud, but in my head, in my brain, floating around in my brain, I wanted to have block number 11 done before I went to retreat, so I could start block number 12 at retreat and hopefully finish it up relatively soon. That one's got a lot of stitching on it, so I don't know. It'll probably take a while for me to stitch it, but anyway, so I was working diligently on block number 11, and was quite pleased with my progress until I discovered I was one thread off. And it was clear at the start where I started the block. So I did get the whole block outlined. I did that. And then I had about a quarter of this block done that I had to rip out. And I'm still working on getting it put back in. So having it done by Thursday of next week is probably not a goal that I'm going to be able to keep, which makes me sad. So maybe I need to change that goal to I'd like to say finishing it at retreat, but probably not going to happen. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but I've got the rest of the day free once I finish recording. And so I might just sit in my chair and stitch the rest of the day and see how far I get. That middle section, it looks like this is the block that I'm working on right there. So the middle section is pretty heavy for stitching, but the top and bottom are relatively easy as far as that goes. It's alphabet. So if I can get that middle section done, that would be great. I just don't know what my week is going to look like. So I can't say for sure what's going to happen, but I'm going to give it the old college try. Yes, I am. And that's all I worked on, which was, you know, sad because, but I couldn't leave it. I've had a couple people say, well, couldn't you just, you know, fudge it and make it? No, that kind of mistake, I already did that on Panoply. I'm off, but just one motif is off, so, but this would be very noticeable that you were off, so no, it has to be fixed. So I think what I'm going to do now is just kind of chit chat about a few things while I'm working on stitching, if that's okay with you. And then, like I said, if Dan does what he's supposed to do, then I can finish up the video tonight on the hutch, and I'll add that to the end of this video in case you're interested. I always put that sort of thing at the end of the video just in case you're new here, because I know a lot of people don't give a flying fig, and that's fine. You don't have to stick around for that. You can just watch this part and then move on to other greener pastures. It's not going to hurt my feelings at all. But I think I will stitch for a little while on this while I'm chatting with you guys. And God, glasses. I hate glasses. That's why I had LASIK, so I would never have to wear glasses, and now I have to wear glasses, and it really chaps my behind. This lens is really scratched badly. No wonder I can't see out of it. Okay, so where am I? Where's my needle? Last night when I left off, I was working on this horse, and its head is missing, so I think that's what we'll do, is finish his head. If I can find my kitchen is not the best place to stitch. It's kind of a dark hole. At some point, Dan wants to put some can lighting in. We've got like 1, 2, 3, 4 can lights over that way, but all we have is the light above the table, and it's not very good light. So we'd like to maybe add, is this it? Yeah. At least 4 cans in this eating part of the kitchen, and I think that would make things a lot better. But right now it's kind of dark, and if I open up the curtains anymore, then I get this big shiny spot on my face, which is not attractive. So I'm just gonna stitch in the dark. And so tell me in the comments below, what are you working on? Are you close to being finished, or are you like Katie, who's almost finished even though she's really not? Wink wink. She did send me, Katie did send me a picture of what she was working on. Let me see if I can bring that up. Katie was here for Easter yesterday. It's kind of rare that Melanie and family get to come to a holiday because of the because of Ben and his, immune system and stuff. We've got little kids, and a lot of them are sick, so it's just not safe for him. But they decided, everyone said they were healthy, so they decided that they would come, which was really nice. We enjoyed it. But here is Katie's latest thing she's working on. It's I'm drawing a blank on the designer but it's called Spring Trios. I almost want to say Manny Didani. Manny Didana. But isn't that the cutest rabbit? She's got to put the wreath around it yet. And she's stitching that on a blue, I think it's Atomic Ranch Oxygen is what she's stitching it on. And it's just, the rabbit's just adorable. So there, we have an update from Kate. Her stitching time has been somewhat limited due to classes. She's taken a pretty heavy load. And it's crunch time. She's got a lot to get done in the next couple of weeks. So anyway, let's see, what's my thing say? I was talking about stitching in the kitchen as opposed to my deck, which is where I would normally be on a beautiful day. I would normally be on my deck. However, let's get to the right spot. However, last year we had weather, and that weather kind of took out my deck. So we had put up what we thought was going to be a permanent, semi-permanent, we're going to call it not a gazebo, but a screened-in area with a roof over it, because I'm highly allergic to mosquito bites. And that's pretty much the only way I can sit outside, is if it's screened in. But we had the big winds last year, and it kind of got underneath that canopy, that tin metal roof that we had on there, and it lifted it up and kind of twisted it before setting it back down, and it took out the railing, snapped a board in the middle of the flooring, and there was 2 railings that it took out, and the whole thing is kind of cockeyed. And by the time the deck guy was ready to get to us last year, it was very cold outside, and he decided he needed that whole canopy thing to be removed. So Dan and I made the decision that the canopy would wait until the spring, and he would take it down, and then they could come and fix what needed to be fixed, which they did. They came and finished fixing things on, I think it was last Friday. But now we're trying to figure out what we want to do about the canopy itself, because this was supposed to be we don't have to spend any further money on it kind of canopy, as opposed to the kind we had before that we replaced every year due to wind. So I was talking to Dan, and I'm like, I don't necessarily want to put any further money into something that's just not going to last for longer than a season. I said it doesn't make financial sense to do so. Is it possible for us to do which is what we should have done when we had it built, but it made it way more expensive. But if you add up all the money we've spent since then, it probably wasn't way more expensive. Anyway, I would like a permanent structure with footings and attached to the house, and a shingled roof, and proper doors, so that we don't have to spend any further money on it ever again, because we're old and we won't outlive the deck, I'm sure. And he was like, yeah, but how much is that going to cost? And I was, we could spend another $1,800, put up this temporary structure like we had last year. Big wind's going to come and take it out, and then next year we spend another $1,800. I said, I'm not sure that it's going to cost us any more, especially if we do the work. And again, we meaning mostly him. So we kind of had decided that that's what we would do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be to draw up plans and figure out the best way to do that. And then, as always happens, life smacks us in the face. And so in the last couple of months, our microwave has died. Our RO system has died. That's drinking water system. Our water heater died. My oven, it's not working exactly right, but I use it so rarely during the summer that we're fine on that. What else? Oh, the TV. The TV is now blinking. So black, and then the screen, and then black, and then which eventually it stops once it gets good and warmed up, but it's really annoying, and at some point that's going to keep getting worse. So the TV probably needs to be replaced. Did I mention the dishwasher? Because the dishwasher went out. So we bought a new dishwasher and a new water heater and a microwave. We need to replace the RO system, but haven't done it yet. The other thing, the big kahuna, the big kahuna is I had them come and service the air conditioner for summer, which I'm gonna be completely honest with you, had not been done for a couple of years, for various reasons, but it hadn't been done for a couple of years. So I had them come, and the kid that came out informs me that my air conditioner is not going to make it through the first heat wave, because when he attached his meter to it, it went straight to critical. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know exactly what that means, but it doesn't sound good. But do I believe you? Because he got very defensive when I said, well, we're just going to have to play the lottery on that one, because right now I don't have the money to replace it. And he got very defensive and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm going to have someone else come out and look at it and just give me their opinion. But should I need to replace my air conditioner this summer, everything else will just have to stay the way it is, because that's going to be a big chunk of money that we don't really have at the moment. So that's what's been happening with that, and that explains why I'm not out on the deck, because they just finished the repair work on it, and I haven't been out there to clean it. We had a rainstorm that came through, I don't know, month and a half, maybe 2, that came up from the south and brought with it, apparently there was a dust storm down south somewhere, Texas, Kansas, somewhere. And so it brought all of this dust with it when it came, and it covered literally everything in mud. You couldn't see out of your windshield when you went out the car the next day. It was completely covered in mud. So everything outside is still covered in mud. The grill, the deck chairs, the tables, the just the deck itself has, and we've been waiting for a good day to get out the power washer and power wash it, but it's been so dang windy this spring that there hasn't been a really good day when there hasn't been something else going on. So I haven't been able to get out and power wash everything so that you would want to sit down on the furniture or even on the deck. I mean, there's literally a coating of mud all over the deck. So that needs to be done before we can really use it again. And today, while it would be a great day to do it, Dan's not home. And I'm not sure that I know how to work the power washer. If he could show me how to work it, I'd be fine. But he has to be here to actually show me, and he's not here right now. I even called him and said, I think you need to get sick and come and show me how to do this. Just tell him you're sick. Cough, cough. And come and take the afternoon off. But he wasn't picking up what I was throwing down, so to speak. So I don't think I may look at it and see if I can figure it out, but I don't know. I knew how to work our old one, but this one, it's not working. And so we borrowed this one from Adam. And I don't want to break Adam's, so I don't know. I don't think that's going to get done. So I think I'm just going to stitch all day and enjoy my day off. I think that's my plan. So that's the saga of the deck. I'm very sad because I didn't get to use it last year because like I said, the railings were broke, and it snapped a board in the middle of a floorboard in the middle of the deck. And then the piece of wood that was then loose, the wind must have picked up the canopy and it slid this piece of wood underneath one of the support beams. And then then it came down on top of that piece of wood. So it was pretty weird. The deck guy said, I've never seen anything like that. Snapping a piece right in the middle. But that's what it did. So it must have twisted that deck pretty good during that storm. So I'm sad because I didn't get to sit out there at all last summer, and it looks like this summer is also going to be a no deck sitting summer for me, which is sad. But I'll get over it. There are worse things in life right now. Let's see. What else do I know? Yes. Retreat starts next Thursday, I believe. I think so. I think it's next Thursday. Today's 21st. That would make next Monday like the 28th. Yeah. So next Thursday. Just putting it out there. The shop will be closed while I am at retreat because Sherry is leaving for Texas to go visit family, I think. So she's not going to be around to cover for me. So the shop will be closed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday while I am at retreat. And been thinking about what I want to take. We are doing Mini Mania, which if you're not familiar, Mini Mania for us, for those who participate, is you do a new start for each day you're at retreat. So some people come Thursday, some people come Friday. So some start 3 new projects, some start 4 new projects. I usually start 4 new projects. And then originally Mini Mania was, so you work on your new start for the first 4 hours of the day. So after breakfast until lunch. And then, did I put that in the right one? I did. And then you switch to whips, and you work on a whip for 2 hours, and then you switch to another whip and another one, and you do that the rest of the day. I am not feeling like hauling a lot of stuff. I'm feeling more like trying to get some things done or get some actual progress. It makes for a beautiful display of needlework, because when you're done working on your whip, you go and lay it out on the table so that everyone can see what you've been working on. And it's a beautiful display of needlework. But I am trying to get some progress done on some things this year. So I haven't decided exactly what my plan is. I will have 4 new starts. And Rosie and I were discussing what we were going to bring. And, we discovered that we had some, Martha's Bird in common that we both wanted to start. So we decided to start that together at retreat. As it turns out, the 4 new starts that I'm thinking of doing are all bird related. So I have the Martha's Bird. I have this sweet little spring bird that I bought on Etsy. I have that here. Let me show it to you because it's really cute. Who's the designer on it? Well, this is the winter one. Nath Nolu cross stitch patterns, or Nat Nolu. I have no idea which is correct, and I'm laughing only because Dan and I like to watch storm chasers on YouTube. And this one gentleman that we watch, he's not a storm chaser himself. I think he's a meteorologist, and he has a channel where he's keeping people updated on the weather, and he's got the storm chasers below him. But he's in Florida, and like he was covering the storms that went through Nebraska and Iowa over the weekend, or Thursday or Friday night. I can't remember which it was. But anyway, sometimes, since he's not from that area, he fractures the pronunciation of certain towns, like Cape Girardeau in, I think it's Missouri. It was Cape Girardeau or something like it. It was amusing, and I shouldn't laugh because here's a name I'm not sure how to pronounce either. So I'm going to try and be better and not make fun of him for not knowing. And I told Dan that the other day. I said, you know what? We should not laugh at him because he's not from here. How would he know how you pronounce Potawatomi? So we only know how to do it because we were from here. Anyway, so Nath or Nat Nolu is the designer, and she's on Etsy. This is the winter songbird. And Nicole, the Buckeye Stitcher, was stitching on this one. I thought it was so cute. So I went on Etsy and I ordered the pattern. So I have this one and I have the spring one, I think. I haven't decided which one I'm going to start first. So that's one of my starts. So that's Martha's Bird, Winter Songbird. Samplers Not Forgotten has the Hummingbird Garden that came out at Market. And so that one is kitted up and ready to go. And then I have the Red Hen, is it Red Hen Blue Rooster from Ori that I got at Market. So they're all birds. So I'm going to have 4 new bird starts. And then my original plan was 4 whips. So I would only have a total of 8 things. And that way I'd do a half a day on the new start and half a day on, well, probably a little longer on the whip, which would be fine. But I'm having trouble nailing it down to just 4. So I know I want to take Hawkrun Hollow. I also started that Dunvegan Fairy, and Rosie was going to start her Dunvegan Fairy. So we thought we could work on those together. So that's 2. I would like to bring Beloved and work on it a little more. And possibly Anna Thiessen. But I also started my other peacock, so I could bring that. So it might be more like 4 new starts and 6 whips. I don't know. It's tough decisions in life. tough decisions in life. But that's my current thought, which may not be the end thought. I don't know. Okay, let me get this so I can see it again. We got this all done except for face and hands. I gotta change that. Look at this. The called for color for this, where is it? Her face. It's like you can't see it. So I'm gonna have to change that to something. I think my riders are going to be not pale ghosties. I think they're going to have a tan, a good tan. So I have to rip that out and find another color somewhere. But I think I am ready now to do a little more background work, because I can talk a little easier then. Okay, so we talked about retreat and when it's coming up. We are having a May Day basket exchange, and my basket is almost finished. I need some grass to put in it, but otherwise all the stuff is in there and ready to go, which is going to be, $2.93 Old English Green, right? Which is going to be fun, I think, to have a May Day basket exchange. What did I say it was? Guys, what did I say it was? $2.93. Remember that. Yell it at the screen when I forget, as I probably will do. $2.45. $2.93. Okay, what else do I have on my list that we can talk about? Oh, this Saturday is a stitching Saturday at the shop. We had stitching this past Saturday also, because I had to cancel second Saturday stitch because the church was having some sort of a conference and they were going to have a band, and it's really loud when they have the band. So I decided there was just no way I could conduct business with that amount of noise. And I'm glad, because the conference started on Thursday and there were people running up and down the hallways, screaming and yelling at each other and laughing and having a great time, which is great for them. But it's not so great for anyone trying to conduct business. So I did a makeup Saturday this past Saturday. Had quite a few people show up. I wasn't sure whether they would because of the Easter weekend, but they did. So we had stitching last Saturday, and we are going to have last Saturday stitching this coming Saturday. So if you're around and you want to join us, it starts at 11. You're always welcome. Easter. How was your Easter, if you celebrate? We had a family Easter. So Melanie and family were here. Adam and family were here. Alex and Emily were here. Abby and family were not here because they were committed to going to Travis's house, or Travis's family, which was fine. We get them for Thanksgiving. um, weather permitting, of course. So we had, I made ham and cheesy hash brown potatoes and strawberry pretzel salad. I know most people don't think of it as a salad, but in my world, it's a salad. Alex and Emily brought Pioneer Woman's baked beans, which has green peppers in them. I was not a fan. I did try it, but I did not. It was not my favorite thing in the world. I prefer my mom's recipe. Um, Melanie brought smoked turkey and rolls and a cake, a raspberry cake. I also made a lemon dump cake that was really good. If you like lemon, it was really good. Um, the raspberry cake is very good too, but I'm a lemon girl. So, what else did? Oh, there was a cucumber salad. I think that was about it. Um, everything was very good, and then everyone played dominoes, and I think the last person left at a little after 6. So, and Dan promptly fell asleep in his chair afterwards. So it was a good day. The weather stunk. It was raining. Kind of not, if it had been raining, I would have been happy. But it was more like a drizzle. We need some rain, some good rain. We haven't had it, so um, it was drizzly. So the dogs, I mentioned the mud all over everything outside, so that got reactivated, and the dogs tromped mud all the in through the house. I am going to have to do a little mopping and get the muddy footprints off the floor. But I haven't done it yet. But it was a good day. We had a good time. We missed Abby and family, of course, but it was a good day. I hope you had a great time. Do you have traditional foods that you eat at Easter? We always have ham on Easter, and every holiday has strawberry pretzel salad. So that's as traditional as we get. I did make the mistake. I don't know if any of you have the same problem. I cannot for the life of me eat smoked food. It makes me sick. So I thought it was maybe this big at the most piece of turkey. I was up all night with intestinal issues, to put it gently, and still having said issues. So I kind of knew that I had an issue. Last summer was the first time I've ever had smoked anything. And it wasn't even really smoked. It was just the only grill that worked at the lodge last summer was the smoker. So they grilled the brats out on the smoker. And I ate the brats and had the same exact issue as last night. And I thought, well, that's just kind of weird. So I tested the theory a month or two later. It was something else smoked. And I ate it and had that issue. So third time's the charm. I'm done. I'm not going to test the theory anymore. It's been proven. I cannot eat smoked stuff, which is fine. It's, my ham was excellent, and so I will just stick to non-smoked meats and microwave because I'm sure they didn't bother to replace the regular grill at the lodge, so I will just either microwave my brat at the 4th of July or boil it and fry it up in a pan. One of the two. But I won't touch anything that's been on the smoker. So that was our Easter. And what else? Let's bop back to the shop. For those of you who shop online, I did put I had a 20% off sale section. Those items have been moved to 40% off, and I added a whole bunch of new stuff to the 20% off, so you can check that out online, or I have them in the shop also. It is in stock only, so hopefully you'll see something you like and save a couple bucks in the process. What else can I talk about? So market has come and gone. I'm finally caught up from that, and I'm starting to work on the framing that has come in the last 3 months, so I can get to work on that now. But every year after market, they send out a questionnaire where we're supposed to talk about, answer the questions and give suggestions, and I didn't go to well, as some of you might know, I have some ankle issues, and I knew going to market that I was not going to be able to do what I normally like to do, which is, I normally, the way we work, there's 4 of us that go. The reason I take that many is because there's a lot of shops to get to, and I like to get to them all. That's what I like to do. This did not happen this year in any way, shape, or form. But I like to get to them all. I like to look at the models. I like to talk to the designers. That's why I go to market. I don't necessarily go because that's the only place you can get the stuff. If you wait a month, it all comes out on Hoffman's anyway. I go more for the talking to, like-minded shop owners and the designers, and to get creative ideas, and, this worked for me, I can maybe it'll work for you, and vice versa. And that's why I go, and I did not get to do much of that this year. But anyway, there is a survey that Yarn Tree sends out at the end, and there was a lot in that survey that apparently there's what they had an industry meeting. So they had both shop owners and designers in the same room together. Normally, the designers have their industry meeting and the shop owners have their industry meeting. This year, for whatever reason, they decided to have it together. I didn't make it. We were up in the room trying to figure out our game plan, and when I looked at the clock, it was already time for the meeting to start, and I knew that there's never enough seating, and I knew that the ankles were not going to be able to stand there for an hour and a half, so I didn't go. But what I'm gathering from the comments is that there was a lot of unhappy people on both sides of the fence. Now, I can't attest to what they were actually complaining about because I wasn't there. But I think probably both sides have valid points based on the comments that I read. There were comments about minimum orders on the designer's part. That is one that I don't understand. I truly do not understand minimum orders. In my head, a sale is a sale. You come in and buy one skein of floss, it's a sale. If I tried to tell you, no, you have to buy 10 skeins of floss, you'd tell me to go pound sand and go somewhere else. So minimum orders is a thing that I don't understand. And I wish I had a good enough relationship with the designer to see what their thought process is. Because there could be a very good reason for it that I don't know because I'm not a designer. And this is part of what frustrates me a lot anymore is lack of communication. Everybody is so divided, and it's their way or the highway, and there's no compromise. So I would be willing to say, okay, what is your thought process behind minimums? Because I don't understand it. I know that my customers, if I set a minimum, I do have a $5 minimum order for credit cards because of the fees. It's not because I want to screw you and make you buy $5 worth of product, but the fees are so high. The only way I could get around that is then to charge you a surcharge if it's under, if you use your credit card, which I don't want to do. So $5 minimum order, I think, is reasonable. And that's why I do it. A 16 chart minimum order, and I think this was a case of it had to minimum pre-order. I couldn't meet that for that particular designer. It wasn't possible. So I couldn't pre-order from that particular designer, which is frustrating for me because, again, I knew that my ankles weren't going to be good for very long. So I wanted to pre-order as much as I could this year so that I could spend my time doing the part that I go for, which is to talk to the designers and see the models and not have to stand in line waiting to check out because the standing is an issue. So normally how we do, so that's part of the reason I take 3 people with me, because that frees me up a little bit to do what I like to do. There's also so many places that you need to get to that don't take pre-orders. And if you're just one person, like I bow down to these shops that only take one themselves or one other helper. I don't know how you do it. I seriously do not know how you do it. So kudos to you for figuring it out. Let me know how you do it. But it takes the 4 of us, starting on Friday night when it opens up, Friday late afternoon, because we all go and stand in front of different places, because some designers have things that you can't pre-order, some designers have limited editions. The fabric is always an issue. Don't get me started on fabric. I will talk about it, but so that's where the 4 people come in. You've got pre-orders for stuff that because you don't want to disappoint your customers, because they will go somewhere else. That's That's the reality. If a customer can't get it from you, they will go somewhere else. We're all fighting for the same thing. So there was apparently some issues with the minimum orders, and again, I'm not a designer, so I don't know what their thought process is. I would love to know what their thought process is. But so that again is a, and the designer says, you don't have to worry about it. I never run out of product, yada yada yada. Except for I've had it where they have. I've had it where I've gone in and they've been out of everything, even though I was assured that they would have enough product there. So again, I don't know how the designer decides how much to bring. Let's just pull a number and look at what I sold last year and add 10%, or I don't know how they figure it out. I wouldn't want that job. But I would think that pre-orders, even if it's less than 16, would be helpful. But it's their business and they can do what they want. It's just that, from my point of view, it makes things more difficult for me. But that's my problem, not theirs. So there was some grumbling about minimum orders, and like I said, I have my opinion on minimum orders. It makes it hard, especially for smaller businesses. There was also some grumbling about people buying just 1 or 2 charts. Again, I'm not a huge shop, and I might only need 1 or 2. And I think sometimes that the designers think that it's my helpers that are buying for themselves, but it's not. A lot of times I get an order for 1 chart. Do I feel bad ordering 1 chart or buying 1 chart? Yes, I do. But financially speaking, it does not make sense to buy an extra chart if you know it's not going to sell in your store. And most shop owners have a pretty good idea what will and won't sell in their store. So the argument that was made, that, well, you're not taking anything back for walk-in traffic in your shop. I don't have a lot of walk-in traffic in my shop. So it's very hard for me to justify buying more than the 1 chart that someone has requested, because I'm a small shop and I don't have people walking in that are new all the time. It's just the way it is. And I feel bad. But again, I also feel that a sale is a sale is a sale. I don't care. They're getting their money. So again, I don't understand, and it would be something I would love to talk to a designer about, because I don't understand that. Again, if I told you, no, you have to buy 2 of that chart, you tell me to go pound sand. So there was a lot of comments about that. I had a very nice conversation with a lady from New York regarding minimums. I think she was specifically referring to a certain designer who had set a $75 or 75 chart pre-order, not a minimum but a maximum. She could only pre-order 75 charts of each design, not total, but of each design. And she's an online shop only and has a very robust online presence and sales. And she was telling me that her, normal day is 50 orders a day online. And I'm like, I'm lucky if I get 5 orders a week online. So I can't even wrap my mind around how 75 isn't enough, because again, I'm a small chart. So I was telling her from my perspective, because again, she has a different perspective. she had orders for more than 75 of those charts. Now, this designer didn't say you couldn't buy the rest of them in person, just that she couldn't pre-order more than that. And from my perspective, if I get behind someone, and this has also happened, that's a larger shop, and they walk in there and says, I'll take everything else you have, the designer doesn't care where they get their money. They're going to sell it to whoever they can. So then the smaller shop that comes in after them gets nothing. So I was explaining that to her, that, you know, the 75 minimum, because I maybe need 10, didn't bother me at all, because I don't have that kind of business. But for her, it was a hardship. But she hadn't looked at it as a small shop and going in behind a larger shop and there's nothing left. And she said, well, I'd never thought about it that way. That's a very good point. And I understand better now. So I think a lot of these issues that people were complaining about could be solved by both sides actually sitting down and talking about it. But I don't know how you get that to happen in a meeting like that. I don't think in a meeting like that you can't. It would have to be, okay, like a peace talk. There's a delegation from this side and a delegation from that side, and that's a meeting specifically. This side brings their list of things that they'd like to discuss, and this side brings this, and they discuss it and give each other's point of view, and we all might understand a little better. So I'm sorry to go on about this. You probably don't give a flying fig about it, but. And then there was apparently a bunch of problems with the hour, and I can totally see the designer's point on this one, the hours of the show. So Friday night, it starts at 4 and it goes until 8 p.m. By the time it's 8 p.m. and they've been setting up their shop all day until the doors open, and their doors have to open on Fridays now. It didn't used to be that way, but it is now. So they finish setting up their shop, then they open their doors. They're busy as all get out until 8 o'clock at night, and by then they're exhausted. They still haven't had supper, and they got to get their room cleaned up in preparation for opening the next day. And so I can totally see their point there. And then Saturday they get up and it starts at 9 and goes until I think 6, and that's a huge long day also to be, boom boom, because it's so busy and there's very little time for them to sit down and even take a drink. So that's a huge long day. And then you get to Sunday, and a lot of stores have already finished up and have gone home. Like Saturday night, they've packed up and left. Sunday is typically always quieter. And so and it's open from 9 until 4. And it's dead between 2 and 4. So I can see why they would want to rearrange the hours a little bit. Now, I do know that the shops that I went into on Sunday still had people in them. And I did get to talk to the designers because, again, my ankles were only going to be good for a certain amount of time. And so I needed to move on so I could talk to someone else instead of standing there and listening to them talk to someone, which normally it wouldn't bother me at all to eavesdrop in on someone's conversation. Wouldn't bother me a bit. But I knew I only had X amount of hours to be on my feet. And so I would just move on. So there was a lot of people I didn't get to talk to, a lot of shops I didn't get. And that's also when I would buy for my shop. Would be when I would go in there at that, But again, because of my ankles, I only had a limited amount of time, so I didn't stop and hang out. I did the whole, which saddened me. I'd glance around the room and look at the models real quick, but I was like, well, I'll just have to order it when I get home, kind of thing. So I'm sure I'm not the only one with a physical limitation that made it difficult to do what I would normally like to do. But I agree with the shortened hours. If it would be nice if Friday started a little bit earlier and didn't go until 8 o'clock, because you don't get supper then until late, and then everyone's converging on the restaurant, and which service is not great there. So it could be 10 o'clock before you get supper, and by then you're comatose. So I think I agree, it would be better to adjust the hours a little bit, maybe make Friday start at 2 and go until 6. So it's still the same amount of hours, it's just moving it up a little bit. That would require that the designers be ready earlier. But we can't have everything. Again, compromise. If you don't want to go until 8 o'clock at night, the compromise is to start earlier and end a little earlier. Saturday, again, it's a very long day. You could maybe either cut an hour off at the beginning and let them sleep in a little bit, start at 10 instead of 9. You could cut an hour off the end and end at 5. Which would also give people a little more time to clean up their room, go to dinner, get a little relaxation, and then again shut it down at open Sunday at 10 and end it at 2. That's just my opinion, but I do see that some compromise could be made there also. That being said, I'm not sure what the hotel requires. It could be that the hotel says, oh no, they have to be open X amount of hours the entire weekend. So, this is what it has to be. I don't know. That could be it. I don't know. Again, that's why a delegation, sitting down and answering these questions for each other, because the designers, most of them are not a shop. They're not going to know what our thought processes are, and we're not going to know what their thought processes are. They could have totally excellent reasons for why they do things the way they do. Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that it's their business and they can run it however they want. Does it have to mean that I like it? No, it doesn't. And then another complaint was that there was multiple complaints on was the emails prior to market. The designers are supposed to have a list sent to them with all the emails for all the shops that are supposed to be in attendance. Now, I can testify to the fact that sometimes you don't receive that email. Could be they typed it in wrong. Could be it went to your spam and you didn't check your spam. Many reasons why you could not get the email, which is why I always look not only in email, but on Instagram, on their webpage, on their blog, any place, on the Facebook page, any place I can. And if I see that they've posted some pictures, I'll either snag the pictures off of that, or I'll send an email and say, did you send out a newsletter that I didn't get? And a lot of times they'll say, yes, I did. You're on my list. Is it the blah, 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 blah? And I'll say, nope, you forgot the dash between reflections and framing, or something like that. So again, it's not just a them problem. There's things on both sides. And then there was discussion about the format. It would be so much easier if everyone did it in the same format. Well, suck it up, shops. Yes, would it be easier for us? You betcha. But you can either learn how to do a screenshot, you can do a copy and paste, there are ways to get the pictures off of the email when they don't make it a downloadable picture. A lot of times they'll do a collage. And that, I will admit, I curse every time someone sends me one that's a collage, because those pictures end up being so teeny tiny. By the time we put them on our website or on Facebook, they're so pixelated you can't really tell what it is anyway. And a lot of times when I get them that way, I just say, fine, I won't take any orders for that particular company, But that's my decision. That might not be another shop's way of doing things. So there could be improvements made on both sides, but it's never going to happen as long as all we do is bitch and moan about it, and don't try and come to some sort of an accord between both sides of the topic. So anyway, the comments were interesting to read. I felt bad because I have that good Catholic guilt. So some of the comments I felt like were aimed directly at me. I'm sure they weren't. I'm sure they weren't, but I felt like it was, and it makes me feel bad. I wish I could have gone in and talked to more people. It's just not always possible to get to everyone, and it's not possible to buy from everyone. It's not possible to buy multiple charts from everyone. We're all doing the best that we can do in those situations. Now, the fabric issue, I don't know that there's an answer to that issue. The ones that took pre-orders, it was wonderful. It was awesome. Thank you, Atomic Ranch. I love you. But I understand why a lot of them did not take pre-orders. Fiber on a Whim, there's another one. I love you guys too. But I understand why a lot of them don't take pre-orders, because they would have to start months and months in advance trying to do pre-orders, and they still have other business to conduct. Like, people are still ordering from them normally, not just for market. So I'm not sure. I understand why not all of them take pre-orders, which means that you have to get there early in the market if you want to get any of their fabric, which is where these long lines are coming from. And I stood in a long line. Doreen stood in it first, and then I took over and stood in her place so she could go on to other things. And I think we spent probably a total of 3 or 4 hours standing in line at one dyer, and it sucked. I'm not gonna lie, it totally and completely sucked. But it is what it is, and I don't see a solution to it. So one suggestion was to make appointments, so you're not standing in line that whole time. You're still going to have the same issue of, okay, so now you've got your appointment is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and your appointment is at 8 o'clock in the evening, by the time your appointment comes, they're sold out. Would it solve the issue of standing in line? Yes, it would solve that issue. But it doesn't solve the issue of some shops not getting any fabric at all. And again, you have large shops that need larger amounts, and you have small shops that don't need as big. I get 1 or 2 yards, maybe in extreme cases, of a particular color in a particular count. Normally, it's 1 yard for whatever counts that I'm getting of that particular color, and it depends on the color. Sometimes I get it in every count. Sometimes I get it in 1 or 2 counts. So my business is entirely different from the business of, let's say, the Attic. They're a huge store. They use lots of fabric. So they're gonna need more than what mine does. That my 1 yard is as important, or is as important to me as their 20 yards is to them. So again, when it comes to the fabric, I just don't see any way to make it better and without pre-orders. But again, pre-orders would be a nightmare for the dyer. So I get it. I actually lay in bed at night thinking about, how could we make it better? And I have yet to come up with a good solution. Maybe I need to not lay in bed at night. Maybe I need to stand in the shower, because usually my better ideas come in the shower, and I haven't done that yet on this particular issue. But a shortage of fabric, and everyone's vying for the same amount of fabric that comes out of the mill. So now you've got, instead of 10 fabric dyers, you have 25 fabric dyers, and the mill only makes a certain amount of base fabric. So it's like this little perfect storm, and there's no real good answer for it. And as far as I can tell, there's not going to be any kind of way to fix it for market. I just can't come up with an idea that, not that they'd listen to my idea anyway, but in my head, I'd feel better if I could come up with a way that I think it would fix the issue, but I can't. So anyway, you probably are really bored with my ranting and raving, and I'm not really ranting and raving. I'm just trying to share some thoughts and stuff with you, because you're my peeps, and I just want you to be aware of the situation too, so that maybe you can come up with a brilliant idea. I don't know. I certainly haven't been able to. So that's I'm going to end that rant. I'm not getting much stitching done while I'm sitting here. I'm just doing more talking, and my voice is starting to go. It would be nice if it would come back and stay for a while, but I'm still having issues with coughing and not having a voice. What else? Is there anything else? I'm pretty sure that this is going to be long enough that I'm not going to want to add the hutch video. So I'll keep that for the next time. And I'm sorry there wasn't more show and tell in this one. But yeah, I had more to show you. I just should have made that video last week, no, week before, before I discovered the issue. So it is what it is. I'm so close to a finish on this that I am chomping at the bit now, even though I know that in the grand scheme of things, I am close to a finish. But there's a lot of stitching in these 2 blocks, so the reality is I'm probably not as close to a finish as what I think I am. Which is too bad. Too bad. Let's see. Puppies are doing well. Rag spends most of her time sleeping, and most of the time right by my feet. Raggy, I don't know why I try and talk to her, 'cause she's totally deaf. She's just laying there. I'm looking to see if she's still breathing. Have you ever had a dog like that you... Yeah, she's still breathing. It's a real concern for me that I'm going to look down at, because she's usually right by me, and I'm going to look down and she's not going to be breathing. And I suppose that's a nice, peaceful way for her to go, but I'd rather she didn't go, I mean. So she did pretty good yesterday with all of the people. Remy had a harder time, I think. Because Adam brought the schnauzers, and Alex brought Louie and Charlie. So there were quite a number of dogs in the house yesterday, as well as people. As Connie puts it, I do not have a house that's set up for company. It's a lot of square footage, but it's cut up. So the rooms aren't real big. And it does make it difficult when you have bunches of people in here, because the rooms just aren't that big. So if I were ever to move, that would be one of my requirements, would be a larger common area. Abby has a fairly large common area in her. You walk in her front door, and it's just one big open space, and then she's got the master suite on this side and the other 2 bedrooms on this side, and the laundry room and a bathroom. So, but the middle of the house is large and open, and it doesn't feel crowded when you get 12 people in it. So that would be a requirement. I would need to have a large open space. Not that we're moving anytime soon. We were thinking about it. We were considering it, but now doesn't seem like the best time to try and do that. So we're going to hunker down and wait a while. Okay, well, I think I have bored you for 87 minutes. I have bored you. So I am going to let you go, because you're probably gone anyway. If you happen to like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it does help my channel grow. So I would appreciate that. Leaving a comment would be wonderful, even if it's just to say hi. It still shows me that people are watching. If you want to comment on anything that I discussed, please, productive comments are always appreciated. Snarky negative comments are not. As my mom would say, if you can't say anything nice, then don't say anything at all. And I think that's a good adage to live by. Adage, is that the right word? ADAGE, adage. Saying. It's a good sentiment to live by. If you can't say anything nice, it's just best not to say anything at all. So I'm going to say something nice and say thank you all for watching. I appreciate you for doing so. And I will see you in the next video, where hopefully I will have more to show you. Although if I'm going to get anywhere close to reaching this goal, this is the only thing I'm going to be able to work on. Which it gets a little boring when you're just showing the same thing all the time. But we'll see what else I can come up with. And with that, I'm going to let you go. So you take care till next time. Bye.